Hi there, my name is Hillary Walsh, and I want to ask you a question. Are you a U.S. citizen who's married to someone who doesn't have immigration status in this country, and you have been told that your spouse cannot get status here because they face what's called the permanent bar? Or perhaps because they entered the country without permission? Maybe you are a U.S. citizen and your dad or your mom have been told that even though you're over 21 years old and even though you are a U.S. citizen, you can't get immigration status here. Or maybe you've been told that I have parents who have status. My mom and dad are a lawful permanent resident, but because I'm here, I have no status, and I'm over 21 years old, that the process will take so long for me that it's not even worth trying. Are you that person? Are you someone who's basically been told you won't be able to fix your status? And if you are able to fix your status, you won't be able to do it here? I want to talk to you today about fixing your status here in the United States with something called VAWA. VAWA stands for the Violence Against Women Act, but it can apply to men and women equally. And the most important thing is that even if you've been told that you won't be able to fix your status here in the United States, I really invite you to message me, because I want to show you and I want to walk through with you how it may very well work out for you that you can fix your status here in the United States. This is going to be a very educational video about VAWA, and we're going to touch on each aspect, okay? So let's get started. First, the Violence Against Women Act is here to help people who've been victims of cruelty or battery, okay? So I want, and when we talk about these things, I want for you to take what is in your mind when you read the word battery or you read the word extreme cruelty. I want you to take what you have in your mind, what meets that standard. I want you to take that out and stop judging what you think battery is and what you think extreme cruelty is. Now, I have talked in other videos about how I was a victim of domestic violence when I was a kid, how it's basically been part of my family story, and that this is the generation. It stopped with me, it stopped with my sister, it stopped with my brother, and it stopped with my other brother. We have stopped that cycle, but it's in something that's very much a part of our upbringing and who our parents, they also experience those things. So everybody, I say that to say that everybody comes into a consultation with me and I tell them the same thing. Take what you think extreme cruelty from someone is and take battery, take what those things are, and take that out of your mind and just let me guide you into what USCIS considers battery, into what USCIS considers extreme cruelty. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think is cruel. It doesn't matter what you think is cruel. It matters what the law says is extremely cruel, okay? So we have to show that you experienced battery or extreme cruelty from one or more of specific people in your immediate family. And that's going to be from a U.S. citizen child of yours who's over the age of 20. So they need to be 21 years old or over is what I should more accurately state. I'm going to come back through these and give you each examples of winning cases where someone's been able to get their green card based on each of these. But just to give the lay of the land, if you've experienced extreme cruelty or battery from a U.S. citizen child over the age of 21 or older, if the same is true for if you have a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident parent who's been extremely cruel or has committed battery against you. And the same is true if your spouse or your ex-spouse is a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. Let's unpack what examples of each of these, okay? Here we go. Let's start with a really common one, okay? We have kids, and no one wants to say that their kids are bad people. I have 4 kids, and I'm a mom who really believes that our children are just such gifts, okay? So with any of these situations, the last thing that I want to do as your attorney is to cause problems within your family. Instead, I want to take what has already happened, what is already true, what is already a fact in your life, and it's going to have been something that's painful. When you've experienced extreme cruelty or battery from your child, if your child has, thrown a dinner plate at you and screamed profanity at you, and then perhaps made threats against you in other ways, I mean, that's painful to talk to an attorney about. It's painful to admit to anyone. But the reality is that it has happened. Let's use this painful situation to help you move forward, not only as that child's parent, but as a community member, as a person who deserves more than to simply exist in this stuck state that you're in right now. Because as we all know, simply having a child who's over 21 years old, who's a US citizen, doesn't help you if you enter the country without inspection, okay? So we can help use VAWA in this situation to help you get a green card, and you don't have to leave the US to do it. Eventually, I know you're going to want to go home for Christmas. I know you're going to want to go see your parents who you've not seen in 20, 30 years. You're going to want to go see siblings, your brothers and sisters and their kids, your nieces and nephews. You'll be able to leave the country, but you'll have a green card, which allows you to re-enter the US. And that's so different than leaving the country with the hope that they will let you back in without any guarantee that they will let you back in. And that's what VAWA gives us. And that's why it's so amazing. Another example that we touched on is when your US citizen your parent is a US citizen or a lawful permanent resident. This can be a step parent if you became their stepchild before you were a certain age. Usually it's when you're a minor. Or it can just be your, of course, biological or adoptive US citizen parent or lawful permanent resident parent. So situations I see here are, can really vary, but a lot of times at the core of it is some form of cruelty where the parent says, I'm not going to petition for you before you're the age of, 21. They make that choice for whatever reason. Perhaps they felt like you were rebellious when you were a teenager and they didn't want to help you. Perhaps they just didn't want to be involved in immigration anymore. So they didn't want to they didn't want to have to roll their sleeves up on your behalf. Perhaps it's worse. Perhaps your parent was abusive to you physically or emotionally or psychologically or financially. Perhaps your parent was abusive to you in some way or extremely cruel to you in some way. And if any of this speaks to you, there's no shame in this. This is life. Life is hard, and there's no judgment toward your parents here at all. I know that I've made mistakes as a parent. I know that your parents have made mistakes as parents. That's not what this is about. This is about using what has already happened for your greater good, okay? Of course, it's really important, and I hope that you will hear me when I say this. None of this, when we do this process, none of this hurts the family member who's been cruel to you. It's always amazing for me to talk to people and, they talk to me about perhaps how their parents specifically told them, I'm not going to petition for you because of whatever reason. And it hurts. And it's caused that kid a lot of pain throughout their life because they don't have status here. They can't work, you can't leave, you can't really stay, and you live in a constant state of fear. But at the end of the day, your parent is not going to be harmed in any way. No document record search is going to turn up showing that you filed this petition. No document search. I always joke that you could go apply for a job in the CIA. And from what USCIS tells us, no one's ever going to be able to dig up anything on the fact that your parent was cruel to you, okay? The other important component is that it doesn't have to have happened in the immediate, like in the most recent time frame. This could have happened 5, 10 years ago, right? But cruelty is cruelty. And that's why I say, don't rule out. If something in your mind says that perhaps this is something for me, perhaps this is a painful experience, and it only has to be one. Sometimes it's 10, 15, 20 that we bring together, but other times it's just one one experience that rose to the level of cruelty where we're able to help you get your green card without leaving the United States, helping you get your work authorization within a matter of months from when we file. So please don't be the judge and the jury on this. Allow us to help screen your case. Send us a message. Let's start a conversation. And every day I talk to people and I let them know, yes, I think I can help you, or no, I'm not willing to, and no one should be willing to risk your ability to stay in this country based on filing something, based on what's happened to you. Okay. So message us so that we can really help you. The third option is if you are married to or were married to a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, and they were cruel to you, or you were a victim of battery with them. I immediately have flashing through my mind all these different cases that we're working on right now where the spouse or the ex-spouse was really cruel to their undocumented spouse. It's really sad, the things that people do to each other. But the reality is that it happens. And a lot of times we see reconciliation. Isn't that the best? Where we have this painful experience, but then we can still reconcile from it. And that can be you too. Some examples I've seen are couples who the marriage didn't work out. Okay. So I'm working with one client right now where the partner, the spouse, would make fun of her accent because she originally was from Mexico. And here she is speaking English and she has accented English because it's her second language. Would mock her for that. Would talk about how, Trump's building a wall. I hope you can get back over it after you're deported, even though, I might petition for you. Things like that, which are just extremely cruel and just so cutting. But there are other situations where it's less painful. There can be complete financial control. And you know what? You may be that person, and that's okay. If you are the person who's doing this, if you are the U.S. citizen or the lawful permanent resident, and you have done this in the past, I have no judgment toward you. But what I do ask is that you let your spouse or your ex or your mom or your dad or your kid know that this is an option and that you're willing to help support them through this because you love them and you care about them and you want to help them fix their status here in the United States. You want to see them grow, and that you ask them for forgiveness and you give them their blessing. You give them your blessing to help fix their status based on what you've done to them. It's something that is so purifying, is to say, what I did was wrong and I'm so sorry. Here, I think that this may actually be able to help you. And you can be involved in the process if you were the person who was cruel, okay? I think it's so important that everyone knows, again, that we're not here to pull families apart. We're here because we want to bring your family together. We're here because we know that you belong here. The law has carved out a very specific way to help you have immigration status here through extreme cruelty and through battery. I hope that you will message us so that we can help you fix your status here. Okay? This is so critical to growing your family, to having security here in the US, and most importantly, using your painful experiences that's happened in the past for your betterment. My name's Hillary Walsh. I'm an immigration lawyer. New Frontier Immigration Law is my law firm, and we're helping people across the United States obtain legal status in the United States without leaving. And I want you to be the next person. Will you message me right now so I can message you with how we can get started, how we can help you? Imagine having the green card in your hand. I can see it. I hope you will too.